Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is the latest transfer news. Now, we know Calafiori's deal is pretty much done. It's almost 99.9% done now. Arsenal already agreed the deal, and Roma and Bologna, Roma's also involved themselves as well, and Basel themselves have also kind of finalized that one, and the documents have already been sent to Arsenal, so that deal is pretty much done. The medical will be scheduled this week, and Calafiori will be our third official signing after Ryan said for this transfer window, but we know that we still need more after that, and it has been confirmed which positions we are going to go for next. But first, let's start with Calafiori. Just 1 minute on him. As he said, it's going to be finalized. I'm actually expecting a here we go by tomorrow, something like that. Earlier today, it was confirmed that the documents and everything had been confirmed. Do I have it here? I think this is the one. So Fabrizio said, I understand Arsenal and Bologna are now preparing all documents for Riccardo Calafiori. This was a couple of hours ago, and after that, we've had some more updates. Formal steps to follow in order to close the deal in the next hours. Medical tests and contract signing this week. So this one is pretty much done. Do not worry about it. Calafiori will be an Arsenal player. He will be our third official signing. But we know this is great. He'll probably be our start at left back, but we still need more. A lot of people have been asking for wingers, for midfielders, for strikers. So what's the latest on that one? We'll be covering GYOKERES and all of those players in this one. So let's get to what we've been told by Esther Collins. So he says, after Riccardo Calafiori, Arsenal are planning further signings this summer with a midfielder and another forward, their next priority. So before the transfer window started, I wanted a midfielder to be the first signing because I wasn't 100% sure whether Partey was going to stay or not. And also because of the injuries, we really missed him last season. And there was a period Jorginho also missed a few games. We had to basically play Rice every single game. El Neni as a bench option, he was not there as well. He was injured. So we really had to depend on Rice in that midfield position. And the moment Partey returned at the end of the campaign, we saw the quality. Like if you have the strength and the numbers and the quality in that midfield, we are good to go. So I wanted us to get a midfielder. Looks like we are going to get a midfielder. We'll be linked to a couple of players have moved on. The likes of Douglas Luiz, they've all moved on. The likes of Onana has been signed. Bruno Gomes looks like he's going to stay at Newcastle. So you're not going to get we're probably not going to get those players. So Merino has been talked about, but we'll talk about Merino later. Let's start with the GYOKERES because that is the one people have been waiting for a lot. Now, we're going to get a forward. Now, the forward could be a striker. It could be a winger who can also play as a striker. But I've looked at all the players we've been targeting, and the one that would be easier to sign, even though it's a lot of money, would be Victor GYOKERES. All the others are very complicated. Osimhen, the money is too much. Napoli don't look like they're going to drop the price. PSG want him as well. Wages will be high. Like that is such a complicated deal. And if you add on top of that, Victor Osimhen, the attitude and everything, I don't know if he's going to fit at Arsenal. So that one is hard. Others are very unrealistic. Watkins, Isaac, all the strikers are very unrealistic. Like if we could sign anyone, Watkins would be the striker I get, then probably followed by Isaac and then by GYOKERES and Osimhen. Like those would be my strikers, but it's not possible to get Watkins. There's no reason for him to leave Aston Villa. They're in the Champions League. They would want like more than 100 million. Same with Isaac and Newcastle. Newcastle told us 150 million just to pick up the call, not even to accept the deal. So those ones are complicated. But GYOKERES is only going to cost 83 million pounds. And in fact, a week ago, this is what we were told on Victor GYOKERES. Arsenal and Chelsea are among the clubs that retain an interest in Victor GYOKERES. Sources with knowledge of the situation have told TBR that the belief is Sporting CP would now consider a deal close to 60 million for the player. Now, they haven't dropped it to 60 million yet. They said they would consider it. You don't expect them to drop it immediately. No, obviously they would wait a couple of more weeks as Sporting. I mean, even if we were Sporting fans, you'd want to wait first to see if any team is going to come with that 83 million pounds. But if they don't, then you were willing to drop the price. So if they drop the price to 60 million, not even necessarily 60 million, even from 83 million to like even 68 to 70 around there, I think that would be a gettable, gettable signing at that point. We did sign Jesus for around 45-50 million. We signed Havertz for 65 million. So GYOKERES would be that range. I don't mind signing a player for 65-70 million. These days, the football, the transfer market, that is how you're going to sign players. United have signed Euro for a lot of money, 60-something million. Chelsea Nkunku, a lot of money. Arsenal have a lot of money. Even Man United did mount a lot of money. Like, you get players these days, 50, 60 million. Like, if you're going to the next level, then you're talking 100 million. So at the beginning of the transfer window, I thought it's going to be hard to get Gyökeres because of two reasons. He had just done a surgery and operation, so I didn't know if you were going to go for him, but it was only going to keep him out for 6 weeks or something. And also, Sporting had other players to sell, like they didn't have to sell Gyökeres. But since then, those players, the likes of Diomande and Inacio, they haven't really been sold. And Gyökeres, we were told that he's happy to come to England. Is happy to, like, we were told that Arsenal have talked to his entourage before a couple of times, and they've asked about the possibility of getting him, and they've talked to Sporting before and told them, okay, listen, what would you want with this deal? How much would you want? Could you like take that price down a bit? And then that was like right after the Euros has started. Then maybe Arsenal decided, listen, we're going to come back, let's go. And then we went to look for Sesko and other players. And then maybe if we don't get the players that we want, then we come back for Gyökeres. Or they've said also we're waiting to sell players first to go for a striker. So Edin Nketiah at the moment is being linked to Marseille, is being linked to Fulham, Crystal Palace. A couple of teams want Edin Nketiah, Premier League teams, and also Marseille. So if Arsenal do get like 30 million from that, the thing is, you're not going to get the money immediately. We're being told it could be a loan and an obligation to buy. I don't know how they're going to work with that. But let's say Nketiah is sold. Smith Rowe, we could end up getting 40 million for him from the teams that want him, the likes of Fulham. There's other players like Nelson. Kiwi is still here. So there's some players that we've been told that they could be sold. So if you do sell like two of those players, all of a sudden, if you sell, let's say, Smith Rowe and Nketiah, and you get 70 million, then you can go and spend that money on getting Victor Gyökeres right away. So for the Gyökeres one, I think we'll need to be a bit more patient for the next 2 weeks again. The next 10 days, I'd say. Let's wait and see which players you're going to sell first and how much money you're going to get for them. Because we were told to get Gyökeres, we'll need to sell players because we've just now spent 45 million on Calafiori. We finally paid the money for Raya as well, around 30 million. So we have spent some money on the goalkeepers and the signing that we've made in terms of Calafiori. So they will need to sell players first and then go for Victor Gyökeres. So I don't know if they've done any other analyzing as in terms of signing Gyökeres, the 180 pages we usually told that we go through. I don't know if he's spoken to the player more since after the Euros. He didn't go to the Euros, but I don't know if he spoke to him during the Euros or after his holidays to tell him, listen, would you want to come to Arsenal? Okay, we're going to come back for you at the beginning of August or at the end of July, whichever it's going to be. I think it could still happen. I don't think the Gyökeres deal is off. I think it could still happen. Now, Chelsea also want him, but looking at all of those teams, I don't think there's too many teams that are desperate for a striker. I don't think Arsenal is desperate for a striker. I want us to get a striker, but I don't think we are desperate. I mean, you can't go to Sporting acting desperate because they would say they want 250 million. If you act desperate, they'll be like, oh, these Arsenal fans are crying for a striker. Let's say we want 250 million. No, you have to go and then tell them, listen, we have 68 million. If we don't want that, we don't really want a striker, we don't have to buy him. And then they'll be like, okay, there's not too many other teams that are going to come in for him. Is he going to get another 58 goal contributions next season? I don't think so. Let's take the 68 million. You have to go there, not looking desperate. And yeah, you can show the goals we scored last season. You can tell them, actually, we scored 90 goals last season. We don't really need a striker, but with this guy that he has played for years really good. We've seen his numbers at Coventry as well. We're going to give you 70 million. And then let's see how it works out from that. Because the numbers last season, 58 goal contributions. And I think around, was it like 14 or something, or maybe even more than 14, like, or assists, like getting around 45 goals and 13 assists or something like that is crazy. It's not easy to do that anywhere. So Gyökeres would definitely up our levels. In terms of more options, it would definitely up our levels. So I think this one could still happen, but we'll need to be more patient throughout the next 10 days to 14 days. Let's see how it happens. You can't just go and pay the money. Don't say that. For the people who usually say just go and pay the money, that is not how it works. You can't just go and pay the money. They'll be like, okay, they're coming to pay the money. Actually, we don't want 83, we want 100. But I think there's a release clause there. So let's see how it goes in terms of the wages and all that. If Real Madrid and Man City don't want him, I'm usually confident you can get these players. Liverpool already have their striker. United already have two strikers. Chelsea, Nkunku is back. They have Jackson. I think they've signed another one as well. Tottenham might be looking for a striker, but I don't think Tottenham will go and pay 70 million for Gyökeres unless they sell Richarlison and players like that. Maybe. So Gyökeres, that's the latest. Speaking of selling in Richarlison, there's a teams from Saudi Arabia want Richarlison and one of our players, and that is Jesus. So could we end up selling Jesus and then getting Gyökeres? So this is what we've been told about Jesus. Al Ali have Gabriel Jesus and Richarlison on their targets list for potential striker signings. Now, could the plan be to sell Jesus and then get Gyökeres? Who knows? Now, I still don't think I would want to sell Jesus right now. Maybe next season, but that season, obviously, his first season, just like Zinchenko and Vieira, Jesus' first season was incredible. Second season, not so much. Third season, so it's one good season, one bad season. So the ideal thing is to give them a third season. Same with Zinchenko. Good season first, second season, not great. Third season, you give them the third season. For Vieira, it's different. You haven't really seen him having a good, like even 20, 25 games yet. So he'll need a very, very hit zone for the beginning of the campaign. So for Jesus, for me, I don't want him to be sold. I'm sounding like his lawyer every single video, but I've told you, like for me, I'm not keeping Jesus just because he's going to score 20 goals. That is not my reason. I know he potentially will not score 20 goals for you. No, everything else that he does on the pitch. For example, if you look at the Luton game away, the Bayern Munich game at home, those particular games Jesus did not score, but he basically saved us in those games. His combination played Havertz against Luton. His combination played Trossard, just doing things around, winning duels, getting involved, coming back and collecting the ball and helping create an assist for Trossard in that game. He does a lot. If you look at his goal against Man United, against Lens, his performance against Sevilla, he was not completely useless. Yes, his numbers were not great, but there was like 8, 9 good performances out of like the 20 games he was available for fully fit. There was like 9 good performances there, including Crystal Palace after the Dubai trip. He was very good in those games. Now, what I usually don't want, which the part where I usually agree with most people, is that you can't like depend on him and say, okay, I'm going to play Jesus 20 games in a row and I'm hoping he's going to score 20 goals for us. Then that point, no, he might not do that for you. That is a problem. But if he's part of the team, if he's coming off the bench, starting 2 games, and then he's coming on the wing, and then he's playing for 60 minutes, and then he's rested for 2 games to avoid injuries, and then he comes back, I think you do good. He looked great in the game against Leyton Orient the other day. He scored the tap in. Those are the positions I also want to see him in. Get yourself in good positions. Then, if you can get us goals and assists and also some really good performances, even if you're not scoring and assisting, that's good, because someone like an Odegaard, he doesn't always score assists, but we end up giving him 9 out of 10. Last season, Declan Rice, he didn't always score assists, but you usually give him 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. So if you can contribute everything else to the team, I like that. But I'll only want him. Now, it depends on how much they're giving us. If they come in with a bid of like 30 million, just get lost. I don't even want to. I don't want to sell him anyway. So if you're trying to convince me to sell Jesus right now, he's still like just before his prime right now. He's not an old striker. There's still, if his injuries relax, like we still see 7 more years of Jesus. So for me, if you're not paying more than what we paid for him, that is around 50 million from Saudi Arabia, we don't have a reason to sell him. He can just be part of the team. We're already selling other players. If you want to get that money for Gyökeres, Nketiah is leaving, Smith Rowe could be leaving, Nelson could be leaving, other players could be leaving, Kivio could be sold. So for me, I would keep Jesus, but he has been linked with Saudi Arabia. So let's see how that one develops. Again, you also can't sell Jesus and sell Nketiah and sell like 5, 6 forward players. Then you will need like 3 or 4 more signings up front. You still need players on the bench. Even if you have Gyökeres, Saka, Odegaard, Trossard starting, and then you have Martinelli on the bench, you'll need a striker on the bench. Havertz is going to start for sure. Havertz is not going to be on the bench, by the way. I think he's definitely going to start. So having someone like a Jesus on the bench, that is still an option. And again, he's still a winner. He still won things at Man City. He's not a bad player in terms of football. I think Jesus is top 3 in terms of best footballers in our team, just like skill and everything else, just being a pure footballer. I think is very, very good. So let's see. I'm hoping he has a big preseason. That's the player I'm banking on. That's one player I really want to do well in preseason, because I know there's still a lot of people who are saying sell him and all that. And I'll Ali want him. So let's see what will happen with that. But earlier we also talked about midfield. We're also looking at a midfielder as our next signing as well. And Merino is the one that is looking very, very likely. That's the one we've been mentioning, unless the mystery German player, whichever other player we are linked to, pops up from nowhere, and then we end up getting 1 or 2 of those players, then it's going to be interesting. But with Merino, we have been told Real Sociedad resigned to losing him, and they want 30 million euros. So are we going to pay that money for him? I think that is a bargain. If you pay 30 million, all of a sudden you have enough money, to try and get the forward players and maybe a winger, then it could be good. So forward player doesn't necessarily mean only Gyökeres. We could have other options that we haven't heard about. It could be a winger, but I think we're going to get a striker and a midfielder, and then we could end up getting a winger like Rare. We could end up getting a winger like the Rare kind of deal, like we get him on loan and then with an obligation to buy next season. We could see a situation with that, whether it's going to be Neto or going to be any other winger. Let's wait and see. But that's the latest news, the latest reports. A lot of you have been asking about Gyökeres. There we go. Let's hope these two cook something for us. We really need a couple of more signings to compete with Man City. That's the thing, Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern. Like, if those teams are not existing, I still think this Arsenal team can walk that league, beat every other team. But we're dealing with Man City and Madrid and those guys, so we need to keep on improving our team. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on